The massive training grounds of Nexus 6 shimmered under the heat of 3 suns. Senior drill instructor Zix Taral stood tall on his 4 legs, his tough-scaled skin barely affected by the harsh conditions that would kill most species in the galaxy. His 4 eyes narrowed as he watched the transport ship land. Today marked a new and unwelcome change to his perfect training program, the arrival of humans. "Disgusting creatures," muttered Assistant Instructor Kavex, standing beside him. "I heard they drink water, pure water, not even mixed with proper minerals." Zix Toril grunted in agreement. "Deathworlders. The High Command has lost their minds letting them join the Galactic Defense Academy." The ship's doors opened with a hiss of pressurized air, and 15 humans in standard cadet uniforms marched out in perfect formation. Zix Toril felt a flicker of surprise. At least they could follow basic instructions. "Attention!" Zix Toril bellowed through his translator. "Welcome to Hell's Forge Training Ground, the most brutal training facility in 7 star systems." The humans stood straight, eyes forward, no sign of fear or worry on their soft faces. This annoyed Zix Toril even more. "I am Senior Drill Instructor Zix Toril. You will address me as Sir or Senior Instructor. You are here because some fool in High Command thinks your species might be useful. I am here to prove them wrong." He began pacing in front of the line of humans, studying them. They were smaller than most Academy recruits, with no natural armor, claws, or visible adaptations for combat. Their skin was smooth and looked painfully vulnerable. This training course breaks even the toughest draconian warriors. It is designed to last 7 full days. Most cadets fail. Many quit after day 3. Some require medical evacuation. He stopped pacing and faced them directly. "I expect all of you to be gone by tomorrow evening." Not one human flinched. "Your first test begins now. You will each carry a full equipment pack to your barracks, located 10 kilometers from here. You have 2 hours. Begin." The assistant instructors brought out the equipment packs, each weighing nearly 80 kilograms and designed for the 4-armed Trexian species. Zix Toril allowed himself a small smile. These packs had broken cadets from much stronger species. To his shock, each human hoisted a pack with only mild effort. Some adjusted the straps to better fit their 2-armed bodies, but none complained or struggled under the weight. Alan Dixon, a broad-shouldered man with short brown hair, secured his pack and glanced at his fellow cadets. They shared knowing looks before setting off at a steady jog toward their barracks. "They're running," Kavex said, his voice rising in disbelief. Zix Toril didn't respond. He jumped onto his hover platform and followed the humans, certain they would soon collapse from the combined strain of the heavy packs, the intense heat, and Nexus 6 higher gravity. But the humans didn't collapse. They maintained their pace, breathing heavily but steadily. Sweat poured from their bodies, a disgusting but apparently effective cooling mechanism that most species in the galaxy lacked. In the middle of the jogging formation, Olivia Ramirez, a compact woman with fierce eyes, nudged Alan. "Is it just, me, or is this easier than Earth basic training?" she whispered. Alan fought back a smile. "The gravity's tougher, but the packs are balanced wrong, using different muscle groups." Behind them, Nicole Winters, a tall woman with her hair tied back tightly, added quietly, "They think this is supposed to break us. Should we tell them about Death Valley exercises?" "Let's not ruin the surprise," Alan replied. The humans reached their barracks in just over 1 hour and half the allotted time. They lined up outside, packs still on their backs, faces red and dripping with sweat, but all standing tall and ready. Zix Toril landed his hover platform and stared at them. This was not how this exercise usually went. Typically, cadets would stagger in over the full 2 hours, many dropping their packs along the way, some needing medical attention for heat exhaustion. "Inside," he ordered sharply. "Store your equipment and be ready for inspection in 30 minutes. As the humans filed into the barracks, Zix Toril turned to Kavex. "Check their medical readings. They must be using stims or other enhancements. This performance is not natural." Kavex reviewed the data on his pad, antennae twitching in confusion. "Sir, Their readings are elevated but within their species' normal parameters. No signs of chemical enhancement, they're just not that stressed by the exercise. In the barracks, the humans quickly organized their gear. The building was designed for taller species, with storage units placed high on walls and sleeping platforms too large for human bodies. They adapted quickly, using teamwork to reach high spaces and rearranging sleeping areas. Greg Patel, a lean man with steady hands, checked his environmental readings. Oxygen's a bit thin, but not bad. Gravity at 1.3 Earth standard. Temperature's brutal, though, said Frank Rodriguez, wiping his face with a cloth. Feels like Arizona in high summer. Stay hydrated, advised Samantha Keller, the group's medic. She distributed electrolyte tablets. Their water has different mineral content than we're used to. These will help. Alan looked around at his team. All 15 were handling the conditions well, as expected. Earth's varied and harsh environments had prepared humans for almost anything the galaxy could throw at them. But the aliens didn't know that. Remember the briefing, he told the group, quietly. We're not just here to pass their course. We're here to show what humans can do, to earn Earth a place in the defensive pact. Olivia nodded. If they think this first test was hard, wait until they see us on the obstacle course tomorrow. When Zixtoril entered for inspection exactly 30 minutes later, he found the humans standing at attention beside perfectly organized gear. Not one showed signs of exhaustion or strain. Rest period begins now, he announced, hiding his confusion. First challenges start at dawn. Be ready. He turned to leave, then stopped at the door. Your species comes from a planet classified as a death world. Tell me, cadet, what makes your world so dangerous? The question was directed at Alan, who answered calmly, Sir, Earth has extreme temperature variations, high gravity, dangerous, wildlife, shifting weather patterns, and diverse terrain. We call it home. Zixtoril stared at him for a long moment, trying to determine if this was bravado or truth. We shall see what you're made of tomorrow, humans. The real training begins at dawn. As the door closed behind the instructor, the humans exchanged smiles. Day 1 had barely been a warm-up. Tomorrow they would show the galaxy what Deathworlders could really do. The 3 sons of Nexus 6 rose together, bathing the training grounds in harsh orange light. The temperature quickly climbed to levels that would cook most species alive. For the human cadets, it felt like a particularly hot summer day in death. Valley Zixtoril and his 5 assistant instructors waited at the central field, surrounded by training equipment. Their scaled bodies reflected the sunlight as they watched the barracks door with all their eyes. They'll be late, predicted Kivex. The night cycle temperature drop should have disrupted their sleep patterns. But exactly at the appointed time, the humans emerged in perfect formation. They wore their full gear and showed no signs of fatigue or discomfort. Zixtoril hid his surprise. Cadets, today begins the real training. The week of suffering starts now with the Crucible March. He pointed toward the distant mountains shimmering in the heat, 20 kilometers through the burning flats, carrying full combat loads. You will establish 3 defensive positions along the way. The current record is 14 hours. Most cadets don't finish at all. The assistant instructors distributed the combat packs. Each weighed nearly 100 kilograms and contained survival gear, weapon systems, portable shield generators, and communications equipment. These packs are designed for Trexian commandos, Zixtoril explained, watching for signs of worry on the humans' faces. 4 arms, twice your body mass. Let's see how you manage. Alan Dixon lifted his pack easily, adjusting the straps to better fit his human frame. Around him, the other 14 humans did the same. They helped each other, secure awkward pieces, and checked each other's gear. Begin, shouted Zixtoril. He climbed onto his hover platform and rose into the air to observe the march. The humans set off at a steady pace across the flat, rocky terrain. The heat rose from the ground in visible waves. The air was thin and hot in their lungs. After 30 minutes, Kavex checked the monitors tracking the humans' vital signs. Sir, their body temperatures are elevated, but their pace hasn't slowed. How are they managing this? Zixtoril studied the jogging humans with growing concern. They're sweating. Disgusting adaptation, but apparently effective. They're actively cooling themselves. 2 hours into the march, the humans reached the first checkpoint. Without breaking stride, they established a defensive position using the heavy equipment from their packs. They worked together smoothly, each knowing their role. Greg Patel set up the communications array while Olivia Ramirez and Frank Rodriguez deployed the shield generators. The others established firing positions and security. Position 1 complete, sir, Alan reported to the hovering Zix Toril, who stared down at them in silence. The humans packed up and continued their march. By midday, they had established all 3 positions and were on the final stretch toward the extraction point. Their pace had slowed slightly, but they still moved with purpose and determination. "This is impossible," murmured Assistant Instructor Tazan. "We're 5 hours in, and none of them have dropped out." The Mevaran cadets' last cycle were collapsing. By hour 3, "Their bodies are strange," replied Mechleth, studying her readings. "They appear to be burning their own internal energy stores to keep moving, and that water loss through their skin is somehow regulating their temperature." Zix Toral said nothing, but his inner eyelids flickered rapidly, a sign of distress in his species. At the 6-hour mark, the human cadets arrived at the extraction point. They were sweating heavily, their faces flushed red, but all 15 stood, tall as they assembled in formation. "Crucible march complete, sir," Alan reported. "All cadets present and accounted for." Zix Toral landed his hover platform and approached the humans. He walked slowly around their formation, studying them. "You've broken the course record by 8 hours, he said finally. "How?" Alan kept his eyes forward. "We train for worse conditions. On Earth, sir." Zix Toral felt a rare emotion, uncertainty. "The next trial begins after a 1-hour rest period. Report to the Aquatic Training Center." As the instructors moved away, Nicole Winters took a long drink from her canteen. "I was expecting something harder, honestly." "Don't get cocky," Alan warned, though he too was surprised by the ease of the march. "They're testing our limits. This is just the beginning." "What do you think the water trial will be?" asked Laura Bennett, stretching her legs carefully. "Probably something involving holding our breath," Samantha replied, checking each cadet quickly for signs of heat exhaustion. "We should all be fine if it's underwater operation. Our diving training will help." Exactly 1 hour later, the human cadets stood at the edge of a large pool filled with greenish liquid. "This is not water," Zix Toral informed them. "It is a methane-based compound that simulates the oceans of Trexian Prime. Your task is simple. Retrieve the training modules from the bottom of the pool and return them to the surface." He held up a breathing apparatus. "Each of you will have 15 minutes of air. The modules weigh approximately 40 kilograms each and are located at a depth of 30 meters. The humans exchanged glances. This would be challenging, but not impossible. One by one, they entered the pool. The liquid was cold and thick, making movement difficult. The breathing apparatus was designed for alien mouth structures and fit poorly on human faces. Olivia was the first to dive. She kicked powerfully through the strange liquid, adjusting quickly to its density. At the bottom, she found a metal container, anchored to the pool floor. Using proper lifting technique, she freed it and began her ascent. From above, the alien instructors watched in stunned silence as each human successfully completed the retrieval. Most surfaced with air to spare in their tanks. "How is this possible?" Cavex asked no one in particular. "Their muscle density shouldn't allow this level of performance in a high-resistance medium. They're using their legs differently than our other cadets," observed Tazan. "Look at the kick pattern, it's highly efficient." When all 15 humans had completed the task, they stood dripping at the pool's edge, waiting for further instructions. None showed signs of extreme fatigue. Zix Toral's inner eyelids flickered again. He checked the training schedule on his data pad, then made a decision. The third trial will begin immediately. No rest period. The humans showed no reaction to this announcement, which disturbed Zix Toral even more. "Follow me to the combat arena," he ordered. As they marched across the training grounds, Alan whispered to Greg, "They're pushing up the schedule. I think we're freaking them out." Greg nodded slightly. "They expected us to fail the first trials. Now they're trying to find our breaking point." Do we have one? Olivia asked with a small smile. Not that they'll find today, Alan replied confidently. At the combat arena, massive robotic training drones waited. Each stood 3 meters tall with multiple weapon systems mounted on their metal frames. Combat assessment, announced Zix Toril. These drones are programmed to fight at increasing difficulty levels until you submit or can no longer continue. The weapons are non-lethal but painful. Begin when ready. The humans formed a tight circle, facing outward. As the drones activated and approached, Alan gave quick orders. Standard formation. Watch each other's backs. Remember, they'll have weaknesses at the joints. What followed shocked the alien instructors even more than the previous trials. The humans moved with coordinated precision, using their smaller size as an advantage against the large drones. They ducked under weapon arcs, targeted vulnerable points, and employed teamwork to bring down opponents. When one human took a hit, others covered them while they recovered. Not one human called for extraction or showed signs of giving up. After 40 minutes of continuous combat, all the drones lay defeated, and the humans stood victorious. Zix Toril stared at the scene before him, finally understanding what he was witnessing. His species had a word for it. Takrith, an unstoppable force of nature. Report to the barracks, he said quietly. Final trials tomorrow at dawn. As the humans walked away, Kavex approached his superior. Sir, at this rate, they'll complete the entire week's training by tomorrow afternoon. I know, Zix Toril replied. I need to contact High Command. I don't think we understand what humans really are. Night fell on Nexus 6, bringing temperatures that dropped nearly 60 degrees from the day's peak. In the instructor barracks, Zix Toril paced nervously while his team huddled around holographic displays. Look at these readings again, Kavex said, pointing at the human biometric data. Their recovery rate is unlike anything in our database. They were back to baseline vital signs within 40 minutes of the combat trial. It's not just their physical abilities, added Tazan, flipping through combat footage. Their coordination and teamwork are exceptional. They predict each other's movements without constant communication. Zix Toril stopped pacing and stared at the main screen, which displayed a detailed biological scan of Alan Dixon. These adaptations make no sense. They have no specialized organs for different environments. Instead, they have redundancy. Their bodies can perform multiple functions in multiple ways. And their bones, Mekhleth pointed to the skeleton image. Look at the density. It's like they evolved to survive repeated impacts. What kind of world produces a species like this? Asked Assistant Instructor Vril Knox, the newest member of the team. Zix Toril pulled up the limited data they had on Earth. A death world. High gravity, extreme temperature variations, thousands of predator species, toxic plants, microscopic enemies, natural disasters. Their planet tried to kill them in every possible way. And instead of dying out, they adapted to everything, Kavex said quietly. Worse, Zix Toril replied. They conquered it all. Meanwhile, in the human barracks, the mood was relaxed but focused. After cleaning their gear and treating minor injuries, the cadets gathered to discuss the day's events. They're pushing up the schedule, Alan told the group. Tomorrow they'll throw everything they have left at us. We need to be ready. Those combat drones were interesting, Olivia said, stretching her sore shoulder. Programmed for opponents with different movement patterns than ours. They kept expecting us to dodge differently. Frank nodded while applying a cooling patch to a bruise on his arm. And did you notice how surprised they were when we worked together? It's like they expected us to compete with each other instead. Different. Evolution. Different strategies, Samantha explained. She moved around the group, checking everyone's condition. Many species evolved from solitary predators or prey animals. Humans evolved as pack hunters. Teamwork is in our DNA. Greg looked up from the environmental control panel he was adjusting. I overheard 2 of the assistants talking. They think we're using performance enhancers or have artificial implants. They can't believe we're doing this naturally. Nicole laughed. Wait until they see what we can do when we're actually pushed hard. Alan held up his hand for quiet as he noticed a subtle change in the air circulation. They're scanning us again. Act normal. The vents in the barracks ceiling had indeed begun sampling the air, looking for traces of chemical enhancements. In the control room, Zixtoril watched the analysis come back negative again. Still nothing, he muttered. They're just like this. Sir, Kavex said, checking the updated schedule on his pad. High Command has sent new instructions. We are to complete all remaining trials tomorrow. They want to see the humans' full capabilities. Zixtoril nodded slowly. Prepare the toxic spore chamber, the gravity simulator, and the electrostatic maze. If they make it through those, we'll end with the gauntlet. The gauntlet? Kavex's voice rose in surprise. Sir, that's designed for graduated cadets, not recruits. It has a 30% injury rate. Those are my orders, Zixtoril replied. High Command wants to know what humans can really do. So do I. Dawn came too quickly for the alien instructors. They assembled at the training grounds, tension visible in their postures. The humans arrived exactly on time, looking rested and alert. Cadets, Zixtoril began. Today you will face the remaining trials of Hell's Forge. Normally these would be spread across 5 more days. Instead, you will complete them all by sunset. He watched for signs of concern among the humans, but saw none. First trial, the toxic spore chamber. Your equipment includes breathing apparatus that will fail after exactly 10 minutes. The chamber takes most cadets 15 minutes to navigate. You must reach the exit before your air runs out or signal for extraction. The humans were led to a large dome structure filled with swirling purple-black spores. The air inside was deadly to most species, causing rapid respiratory failure. One by one, the humans entered the chamber with their faulty breathing gear. The alien instructors watched on monitors as the humans moved through the dense clouds, navigating by touch along guide wires when visibility dropped to 0. Look at their heart rates, Tazan said in amazement. They're barely elevated. They're holding their breath between breaths, observed Mekhleth, conserving air. Every human completed the chamber within 8 minutes. None required rescue. Next trial, Zixtoril announced, his voice now lacking its earlier confidence. The gravity simulator. This structure was a training room where artificial gravity could be adjusted up to 3 times standard. Cadets were required to perform combat maneuvers against drones while the gravity increased. Again, the humans surprised the instructors. While they struggled more at the highest settings, they adapted their fighting styles, staying low to the ground and using momentum rather than strength. All 15 completed the required exercises. They evolved on a high-gravity world, Kavex reminded the others. This is closer to what they consider normal. The third trial of the day was the electrostatic maze, a complex network of charged barriers that delivered painful shocks when touched. Cadets had to navigate through while carrying sensitive equipment that would be damaged by the electricity. Humans approached this challenge differently. Instead of trying to avoid all contact with the barriers, they positioned team members to take controlled contacts, creating safe passages for others carrying the equipment. They're deliberately taking shocks to help their teammates, Vrilnok said, stunned. They're sacrificing their own comfort for group success. Alan winced as he pressed his arm against a charged panel, creating a gap for Olivia to slip through with the delicate sensor package. The shock was painful, but not debilitating. Growing up on a planet with frequent lightning storms and natural electric fields had given humans a higher tolerance than most species. By midday, the humans had completed all 3 morning trials, challenges that typically took days to finish. They stood before Zixtoril with determined expressions ready for more. The alien instructor looked at them for a long moment before speaking. Final trial, the gauntlet. This is normally reserved for graduation tests after a full year of training. He led them to a massive enclosed arena filled with obstacles, weapons platforms, environmental hazards, and combat drones. This course tests everything: strength, speed, endurance, teamwork, combat skills, and adaptability. No cadet group has ever completed it without at least one member being eliminated. The humans studied the course, already forming plans. Alan turned to Zixtoril with a question. What's the record time for completion, sir? Zixtoril's inner eyelids flickered rapidly. 8 hours, 14 minutes with 3 casualties. Alan nodded, then turned to his team. We can do this in 4. As the humans prepared to enter the gauntlet, Zix Toril received an urgent communication. He stepped away to answer it. Senior Instructor, came the voice of Fleet Admiral Vexamoria. I will be arriving with the High Command Observation Team within the hour. These humans have attracted significant attention. Continue with the final trial, but be advised. We may have severely underestimated what Deathworlders are capable of. Zix Toril looked back at the humans, now entering the gauntlet, with confident strides. Yes, Admiral, he replied. I believe we have. The gauntlet stretched before the human cadets like a nightmare made real. Fog clouds filled with stinging particles limited visibility. Automated turrets tracked movement with deadly precision. Shifting terrain plates rose and fell without warning. Combat drones patrolled in coordinated patterns. The air itself was thin and filled with irritants. For the alien cadets who normally ran this course, it represented the ultimate challenge, something they trained a full year to attempt, and still, often failed. For the humans, it looked difficult but manageable. Standard diamond formation, Alan ordered as they gathered at the entrance. Samantha in the center as medical support, Frank and Greg on point. Olivia and I will take rear guard. Everyone pick a buddy and watch their back. The humans organized, quickly, checking each other's gear one last time. They had suffered minor injuries throughout the day. Bruises, small burns from the electrostatic maze, strained muscles from the gravity chamber. But all 15 remained fully operational. Remember, Alan continued, this isn't about individual performance. We succeed together or not at all. That's the human way. In the observation room, Zix Toril watched with his team as the humans prepared. The door slid open, and 6 high-ranking officers entered, led by Fleet Admiral Vexamoria. The Admiral was an imposing Andorian, nearly 3 meters tall with luminescent skin that shifted colors with her mood. Currently, it glowed a deep, interested purple. Senior Instructor, the Admiral greeted Zix Toril. Show me these humans I've heard so much about. Zix Toril gestured to the main screen. They are about to begin the gauntlet, Admiral. They've completed every other trial in less than 12 hours. The course normally takes a full 7 days. Impossible, stated one of the other officers, a bulky draconian with armored plates covering his body. No species has that kind of endurance. Watch, was all Zix Toril said in reply. On the screen, the humans entered the gauntlet as one coordinated unit. They moved differently than other species, staying low, using cover effectively, communicating with hand signals and short verbal codes. The first automated turrets activated, targeting Frank and Greg at the front of the formation. Instead of freezing or panicking, the 2 men split apart, creating a crossfire situation for the turrets. While the weapons tracked them, Nicole and Laura rushed forward from the second row, sliding under the firing arc to reach the control panel. Laura took a glancing hit from a stun pulse which would have incapacitated most cadets. She grimaced but kept moving, reaching the panel and disabling the first set of turrets. Efficient, remarked Admiral Vexamoria. They understand the weaknesses in our automated systems. The humans continued through the course, adapting to each new challenge. When the terrain shifted beneath them, they used the movement to their advantage, riding the rising plates to reach higher levels. When toxic gas filled a narrow corridor, they held their breath longer than seemed possible, moving through without, using their emergency breathing gear. Look at how they protect each other, Kvex noted as Aaron Hughes stumbled in the shifting gravity field. Before he could fall, 2 other humans caught him, steadying him until he found his balance again. An hour into the course, the humans encountered the most difficult section, the drone swarm. 50 combat drones activated at once, surrounding the human formation. This is where they'll fail, said the Draconian officer confidently. No cadet group has ever defeated the swarm intact, but the humans didn't engage the swarm directly. Instead, they huddled together briefly, then split into 3 teams that moved in different directions. The drones, programmed to target the largest group, divided their attention. They're using themselves as bait, Zix Toril realized. Some are drawing fire while others target the control nodes. The human teams worked in perfect coordination. Alan led one group in a frontal distraction while Olivia's team circled behind to attack the main control node. Greg's team created interference by throwing pieces of equipment that confused the drone's sensors. When Aaron took a direct hit that left him dazed, Samantha rushed to his side, shielded by Frank and Nicole. She treated him quickly and efficiently, and within minutes, he was back on his feet rejoining the formation. Their medical response is remarkable, observed Mechleth. Most species would evacuate an injured cadet immediately. The Admiral's skin shifted to a bright, interested yellow. They don't leave their wounded behind. 3 hours into the gauntlet, the humans approached the final challenge, a climbing wall that rose 20 meters high, covered in electrified panels that delivered powerful shocks. At the top waited the extraction point and completion of the course. The humans studied the wall briefly, then formed a new plan. They created a human ladder, with stronger members providing stable platforms for lighter, more agile climbers. They rotated positions when someone received too many shocks, allowing each person time to recover. Those shocks are calibrated for draconian pain thresholds, whispered Tizan. They must be in agony. But the humans kept climbing, their faces showing pain, but also determination. When they reached the top, they formed a chain to pull up their remaining members until all 15 stood at the extraction point. The final timer stopped at 3 hours and 42 minutes. In the observation room, silence fell. The officers stared at the screen, watching the humans gather in their standard formation, battered but victorious. 3 hours and 42 minutes, Admiral Vex Moria said finally. Less than half the previous record, and not one of them dropped out. She turned to Zix Toril. What are we seeing here, Senior Instructor? What kind of species performs like this? Zix Toril had been asking himself the same question all day. Now, watching the humans support each other, treating injuries and sharing water, he understood. AE, species that evolved on a world that tried to kill them at every turn, Admiral. They didn't develop specialized adaptations for specific threats. They developed general resilience to all threats. He pulled up the data they had gathered throughout the trials. Their bodies are amazingly adaptive. They can withstand temperature variations that would kill most species. They can go days without water, weeks without food. They heal from injuries at remarkable rates. Their sensory awareness and reaction times are exceptional. And their teamwork, added Kvex. It's not trained behavior, it's instinctive. They naturally protect each other and work together. Admiral Vex Moria's skin shifted to a deep, thoughtful blue. The Galactic Defense Academy has never seen cadets like these. What do you recommend, Senior Instructor? Zix Toril looked again at the humans now making their way back toward the entrance of the gauntlet. Even after completing a course designed to break the strongest warriors in the galaxy, they moved with purpose and energy. I recommend immediate advancement, Admiral. These humans have nothing more to learn from our basic training. They should be placed directly into advanced tactical programs. The Admiral nodded slowly. I agree, but I think they have much to teach us as well. She turned to her officers. Prepare a new training regime. I want these humans working with our elite units immediately. If this is what a Deathworlder can do, we need to learn from them. As the humans exited the gauntlet, Alan looked up at the observation window. He couldn't see through the tinted glass, but he knew they were being watched. He straightened his back and led his team in perfect formation back to the main grounds. Did we make an impression? Olivia asked quietly. Alan allowed himself a small smile. I think we just changed everything. The human cadets stood at attention in the main hall of the Galactic Defense Academy. Their uniforms were fresh, hiding the bruises and minor injuries they had collected during their trials. The large chamber was filled with alien officers and officials, many of whom had traveled considerable distances to see these remarkable Deathworlders for themselves. Fleet Admiral Vex Moria stood on the raised platform, her luminescent skin glowing a formal gold. Behind her, Zix Toril and his instruction team looked unusually subdued. Today we have witnessed something unprecedented in the history of this academy, the Admiral began, her translator conveying her words to all present. These human cadets have completed the entire Hell's Forge training course in a single day. a course designed to take a full week and challenge the most elite warriors in the galaxy. Murmurs spread through the gathered aliens. Many had heard rumors but refused to believe them until now. Senior Instructor Zix Toril has submitted his full report, which I have reviewed personally, continued the Admiral. It is not merely the speed that impresses, but the manner in which these humans completed their trials. They displayed levels of endurance, adaptability, and teamwork that exceed our existing standards. Alan stood perfectly still at the front of the human formation, maintaining proper military posture. Beside him, Olivia kept her eyes forward, though he could sense her pride. The Admiral activated a large holographic display showing footage from their trials. The assembled aliens watched as the humans marched across burning terrain, navigated underwater obstacles, fought combat drones, and conquered the gauntlet. We classified Earth as a death world because it would kill most of us, the Admiral explained. What we failed to understand is what such a world creates. Beings of extraordinary resilience. She gestured to the human cadets. These are not specialized warriors like our other species. They possess no natural armor, no extra limbs, no exceptional sensory organs. Instead, they are adaptive generalists, capable of functioning in almost any environment, overcoming almost any challenge. A tall, spindly alien with multiple eye stalks stepped forward. Admiral, if I may, I am Science Director Krelvox. I have studied the biological data from these trials, and there is something even more remarkable than their physical capabilities. The Admiral nodded permission to continue. These humans display a unique form of pack cooperation, explained the Science Director. They instinctively protect their wounded. They sacrifice individual advantage for group success. They communicate and coordinate without extensive training. These behaviors appear to be innate to their species. The Science Director highlighted video of the humans forming defensive circles, creating human ladders, and treating injured teammates while others provided cover. Most predator species evolve to compete with each other, he concluded. Humans evolve to cooperate. A small but critical difference that produces extraordinary results. Fleet Admiral Vex Moria took control of the presentation again. Based on these findings, the High Command has made a decision. Effective immediately, these human cadets will not be continuing standard training. Alan felt a moment of concern. Were they being removed from the program? Had they somehow failed by succeeding too well? Instead, the Admiral continued, they will join our elite tactical development division as both trainees and instructors. They will learn our advanced combat techniques and, in turn, teach us their methods of adaptation and teamwork, relief. And pride spread through the human cadets, though they maintained their disciplined formation. Furthermore, added the Admiral, Earth's classification is being updated. It is no longer designated merely as a death world, but as a forge world, a crucible that creates warriors of exceptional quality. She stepped down from the platform and approached the human formation directly. Cadet Dixon, as ranking officer of this unit, stepped forward. Alan took 3 precise steps forward and saluted in the human military tradition. The Admiral returned the gesture with the Andorian equivalent. Your performance has opened a new chapter in galactic defense history, she told him. What insights would you share with this assembly about how humans achieved what many thought impossible? Alan took a moment to consider his words carefully. When he spoke, his voice was clear and strong. Admiral, what looks impossible to one species may be everyday survival to another. On Earth, we face predators, natural disasters, disease, and climate extremes as a normal part of life. We learned long ago that we survive best when we work together. He glanced briefly at his fellow cadets before continuing. Humans are not the strongest, fastest, or most naturally armed species. We compensated by developing endurance, adaptability, and cooperation. We don't give up because our entire history taught us that persistence overcomes almost any obstacle. The Admiral's skin shifted to an impressed blue-green. Well said, Cadet Dixon. One final question. Did your team find any of our trials particularly challenging? Alan allowed himself a small smile. With respect, Admiral, we were expecting the training to get more difficult after these preliminary exercises. A shocked silence fell over the room, broken by a sound that the aliens had never heard from Zixtoril before. Laughter. The senior instructor stepped forward, his scaled skin rippling with amusement. And that, Admiral, is why I recommend we redesign our entire training program. What challenges a Trexian or Meveran may not even warm up a human? After the ceremony, the human cadets gathered in their new quarters, significantly more comfortable than the barracks they had occupied the previous night. So we're instructors now, Nicole said, relaxing on a properly sized sleeping platform. Anyone have teaching experience? I coached Little League Baseball, offered Frank with a grin. I'm not sure that counts for galactic defense training. Olivia sat beside Alan, her expression thoughtful. Do you think they really understand what humans are capable of yet? Alan shook his head. No. We showed them our endurance and teamwork, but not our innovation or determination, not our history or culture, not the full range of what Earth produced. They'll learn, Greg said confidently. And in the meantime, we'll learn from them, too. Their technology, their tactics, their knowledge of the galaxy. Samantha looked up from treating a burn on Aaron's arm. I'm curious about their medicine. Their biology is so different from ours. Imagine what we could discover. A soft chime indicated someone at their door. It slid open to reveal Zixtoril, now wearing the formal uniform of an academy commander rather than a drill instructor. Humans, he greeted them, his translator conveying an unusually respectful tone. The elite division instructors have requested your presence for an orientation session. As the humans prepared to follow him, Zixtoril addressed Alan directly. Cadet Dixon, I have reviewed Earth's military history while preparing my report. Your species has a saying that I find particularly relevant to today's events. What saying? Is that, Commander? Alan asked. Hard times create strong people, Zixtoril quoted. Earth made you strong through its hardships. Now the galaxy will benefit from that strength. Alan nodded, thinking of the long human history of struggle and survival, of adaptation and persistence. Yes, Commander. And we're just getting started. As the human cadets marched toward their new assignment, word of their achievements was already spreading throughout the galaxy. The species from the death world called Earth had arrived on the galactic stage, and nothing would ever be the same again. On distant worlds, military strategists studied the reports from Hell's Forge with growing interest. Diplomatic corps prepared new approaches to the human government, and in the dark spaces between stars, those who would threaten galactic peace considered the implications of a species that could turn a week of suffering into a single day's work. Humanity had made its first impression on the galaxy, and it was even more impressive than they had hoped.